Gananam tva ganapatim havamahe kavim kavinamupamasravastamam Jyeshtarajam brahmanam brahmanaspata anashrunvannotibhis sedasadanam Om Shri Mahaganadhipataye Namah Om Vrishabham Charshaninam Vishwarupamadabhyam Brihaspatim Varenyam Om Tadvishno Paramam Padam Sada Pashyanti Shorayah Divi Vachakshuratatam Om Shlim Hrim Jyotirbrahmaya Namah. Can everyone say Hare Rama Krishna 3 times? Om Hare Rama Krishna Hare Rama Krishna Hare Rama Krishna. Okay. So we started Arudha Padas, right? Okay, we are in chapter 29 in BPHS. 15th verse is over, right? Okay, good. So we have seen the definition of pada or Arudha Pada. So how Arudha Lagna is defined, how Graha Arudhas are defined, we have seen. What are the meanings, we have seen. And then Parashara gave some results based on the pada. He basically said planets occupying the 11th house or aspecting the 11th house or having Argala on the 11th house from Arudha Lagna, they give financial success, they give profits. On the other hand, planets, he said if a planet is aspecting the 11th house from the pada but not aspecting the 12th house, then he said there will not be any obstructions. There will be a lot of financial gains without any obstructions, he said. And we concluded based on that the aspect being referred to here is not the sign aspect but the planetary aspect. Because some people take this principle of aspecting the 11th house giving profits and aspecting the 12th house giving losses is well known. It has been taught before. The only thing is it was taught as sign aspects in the parampara. Whereas Parashara is clearly saying Pada Labhagraham Pasyet Vyam Kaschinna Pasyati. If a planet is aspecting the 11th house but not the 12th house, Avigdhyana Sada Labho Jayate Jasatama, then there will be unobstructed profits. So no planet can aspect both the 11th house and 12th house if you take the sign aspect. Sign aspect is not on consecutive signs. Planets in dual sign aspect other dual signs which are not consecutive, and planets in fixed signs will aspect mobile signs and planets in mobile signs will aspect fixed signs. Either case, the signs aspected are basically never consecutive. So based on that, we conclude that he is talking about the Graha Drishti here. So planets aspecting the 11th house from Arudha Pada but not aspecting the 12th house, they will give gains. And then later he said also by Argala. If there is a planet there are a lot of planets either occupying or aspecting or having Argala on the 11th house from Arudha, then he said there will be profits. And he also said if a Shubhagraha, he said if a Shubhena Swamina Drishte Lagna Bhagyadganava, he said if a benefic planet or the lord of the sign or a planet being in the Lagna or in the 9th house, if such a planet aspects the 11th house from Arudha Lagna, it is even better than without aspecting the 12th house. Dvadasham Naiva Pasyati. Without aspecting the 12th house, if such a planet aspects the 11th house, it is very beneficial financially. Yeah, same planet. So if a particular planet happens to be a functional benefit and from the Arudha Lagna and aspecting the 11th from Arudha Lagna, or if it is the 11th lord from Arudha Lagna aspecting the 11th from Arudha Lagna, either the lord or a benefic from the Arudha Lagna aspecting, or any planet going into the Lagna or the 9th house. In those cases he said Ukta Yogesh. So he said in that case there will be lot of profits, lot of gains. let us postpone that question for now, because actually this concept of different planets being in the same sign as exchanging results has been mentioned in other classes, but not really by Parashara. So the thing is, we haven't really seen any dasha where you can just pick the planet and say, okay, this planet should give financial gains. We haven't really gone to that level. We will try to go in the next few classes. But the thing is, let us validate these principles based on successful people. For example, if we take somebody like Bill Gates or Dhirubhai Ambani, who were self-made, who were very rich, are there actually a lot of planets aspecting the 11th house and not aspecting the 12th house? Because according to what Parashara said, 11th house should have many more aspects than the 12th house. He said, Graha Drug Yoga Bahulya. If the aspects or conjunctions of planets are many in number, in the case of 11th house, then there will be profits. And we have to see whether our understanding of how to find the Arulagna is right, how to find the 11th house from it is right. There are several factors that need to be gotten right before this principle basically will make sense. So we will try to see some examples. The next verse is verse 16. We finished up to 15 last class. We are continuing from 16 now. Padasthanad vyaye vipra shubha papa yute kshite vyaya bahulyamitevam visheshoparjanat sada shubhagrahe sumargena kumargat papa khechare mishre phalam vachyam evam labhopi labhage. Padasthanad vyaye vipra. If from the pada, from the Arulagna in the 12th house, O Brahmin, Shubha Papa Yutekshite. If a benefic planet or a malefic planet, the word Shubha and Papa refer to functional benefic, functional malefic, not natural benefic, natural malefic. Those words are Saumya, Krura. Natural benefic is Saumya, natural malefic is Krura. And functional benefic is Shubha, functional malefic is Papa. Parashara is very clear in the distinction, even though people mix up. This is very clear. So we will stick to Parashara's terminology. That is not clear. Parashara does not say. Is it with respect to the Arudapada that you are seeing, or is it with respect to the Lagna always? That is not clear. And my take is from the Arudapada. But that is not clearly mentioned by Parashara. But some people will interpret Shubhagraha and Papagraha as Jupiter, Saturn, Venus, Mars, like that. The natural benefic, natural benefic. But that is definitely wrong. Vyaya Bahulya Mityevam Visheshoparjana Sada Vyaya Bahulyam Iti. He is saying in that case there will be Vyaya Bahulyam. There will be a lot of. Yeah, it's working. Why? The green lights are flashing. Okay. I think from that angle it's difficult to see. So it means there are a lot of expenses. Vyaya Bahulyam means many expenses. Ityavam Visheshoparjanat Sada. That means Vishesha Uparjanat. That means he will be earning in many ways. Many special ways he will be earning, but still there will be so many expenses. Of course, in order to spend a lot of money, you have to be getting a lot of money. So that means there is a lot of gains, but there are a lot of gains, but there is also a lot of expenses. Money will keep going. Shubhagrahe Sumargena Kumargat Paphetre. If the planet involved is a functional benefit, then it is through a good path. Whereas if the planet involved is a malefic planet, it is through a bad path. He doesn't say illegal or legal, but bad, not desirable. That is not very clear whether he is talking about the earning or spending. But the thing is, usually for spending you won't say spending through a bad path, spending through a good path. Spending is spending, and he doesn't say for a good thing or for a bad thing. Spending is usually for something, whereas earning is through a particular path. So my conclusion is also the previous line. First he says Vyaya Bahulyam, then he says Vishesha Uparjana. The last thing he said was earning. So my conclusion is that this Sumargana and Kumargana will apply to the earning. So that means the planets in the benefic or malefic planets in the 12th house from Aru Lagna, they will show earning through good or bad path and then spending that money. Basically, planet in the 12th house has an Argada on the 11th house, right? Dhanargada. So this planet will make you get money, get gains, and then spend it away. That is what the planet will he didn't seem to be talking about spending for good causes versus spending for bad causes. Mishre mishra phalam vachyam evam labhopi labhage. Mishre mishra phalam vachyam means if the Mishre mishra phalam vachyam means in the case of mixed planets, neutral planets, or one benefic, one malefic like that, then the results will be mixed. It will not be either good path or evil path. Then he said, labhopi labhage, evam labhopi labhage. Labhopi means, evam means like this, labhopi labhage. If the planet is in the 11th house, then with respect to profits also you said the same way. So he is saying whether the planet is, whether you are talking about planets in the 11th house or in the 12th house. Bottom line is, if the planets are benefic planets, they will give money through good path. If the planets are bad planets, they will give money through bad path. And then if the planet is in the 11th house, it is just money coming. Whereas if the planet is in the 12th house, because of the Argala on the 11th house, it will make the money come, and also it will make it go because it is in the 12th house. That's the difference. The next verse is, yeah. Yeah.
Then apply to expense also, because expense can be on gambling or on charity, depending upon what the plan is. Expense is an expense. Because if it is a policy, the Argala being Argala on 11th is making them
Yes,
in a
right.
good path.
Right.
But the being will make it expenditure.
I agree with you. That makes sense. But the thing is, the grammar doesn't suggest that he is talking about spending on good thing versus spending on bad things. He just seems to be talking about spending. I am not 100% sure, but the grammar is 80% suggestive that it is applying to the labha, not to the vyaya. The next verse is Padarudhadyaye Shukrabhanu Swarbhanu Bhiryute Rajamuladyayo Vachyah Chandra Drishtya Visheshatah. Padarudhadyaye means if from the Arudha Lagna, if the 12th house has Shukra Bhanu Swarbhanu Bhiryute means the 12th house has Venus, Bhanu means Sun, Swarbhanu means Rahu. So if the 12th house from Arudha Lagna has either Venus or Sun or Rahu, then Rajamulad Vyayaha, then there will be Rajamulad Vyayaha, spending on account of king, government spending. Vachyaha should be said. It may be giving money to king, or it may be spending money on some kingly things. It may be anything. Rajamulad Vyayaha, that is also possible. But he talks about paying taxes in another verse with Jupiter. So this could more than paying taxes, this could just be luxuries, etc. Living like a king. Sun shows, Sun is the planet of royalty, Sun is the planet of kingly things, and Rahu and Venus are the planets of luxuries, etc. So from that point of view, these three planets being in the 12th from Arudha Lagna could indicate the person spends money on a lot of royal luxuries. Sun being? Yeah. Possible, yes. Yes. The king is coming to your village, for example, and you want your village or your house, you want your house to look good, so you basically paint your house. That is basically to look good to the king. So that kind of things are also possible. So Sun is showing all the kingly things, and Venus and Rahu are showing luxuries. So these are the three planets who will give this result. Chandra Drishtya Visheshatah, he said, even with moon, apart from Venus, Rahu and Sun, even with moon, especially with moon, this can be said. So if moon is in the 12th house from Arudha Lagna, then also there will be expenses on account of king or on account of luxuries, etc. Padarudhadyaye Saumye Shubhaketayute Ekshite Gnati Madhye Vyayo Nityam Papa Drukkalahadyayaha Padarudhat Vyaye Saumye. If the 12th house from Arudha Lagna has Saumya means Mercury. Huh? Not really. He doesn't say Saumya Graha. He 90% because he was talking about planets earlier. Venus, Sun, Mercury. Saumya is also a name of Mercury. The son of Soma basically. Saumya means son of Soma. So the other meaning is somebody like Suma. Saumya also means somebody comparable to Suma, means flower like. That means very delicate, very good basically, auspicious. So Saumya means auspicious, also means Mercury. So here it means Mercury. So if the 12th house from Arudha Lagna has Mercury, Shubha Keta Yutekshite, who is either conjoined by or aspected by benefics. Functional benefics, exactly. Gnati Madhye Vyayaha means, Gnati means not really enemies, basically family, extended family people who are your rivals. Basically in the old days, if a king has 5 wives and each wife has several children, all those children, and also your father's cousin's children, they are also competition for you to get the kingdom, right? So all those people were called Gnatis basically. So Gnatis are your close relatives who are like your rivals. Relatives with legal rights, exactly. So Gnati Madhye, and Mercury is the significator for all the relatives, etc. So it doesn't necessarily need to be Gnati. This is one possibility. In general, for Mercurian things. So in general for relatives, for helping relatives. Gnati Madhye Vyaha. So you will spend money on Gnati, on your relatives. Papadruk Kalahad Vyaha. In case of a malefic aspect, if a functional malefic aspects that Mercury, then Kalahad Vyaha. There are quarrels with those relatives that you are spending money on. So if it is just Mercury, then you are helping your relatives or helping your cousins, your second cousins, third cousins, and so on. Whereas if that Mercury is aspected by a malefic, then you are spending on them but unhappily, because there is a fight, there is a court case or something with them. Padadvyaye suracharye vikshite chanya khecharai karamooladvyayo vachah swasyaiva dijasattama. Padadvyaye suracharye. If the 12th house from Arudha Lagna is containing Jupiter, Suracharya is Jupiter, Vikshideta Anyakhecharehi, and he is aspected by some other planets. So Jupiter is in the 12th house from Arudha Lagna and he is aspected by other planets. Then Karamula Dayo Vachaha, that means the person will spend lot of money on taxes. He will be a big taxpayer. Swasyeva Dvisattama. Swasyeva means, and he will spend money on himself. So he will spend money on himself and also on lot of taxes. He doesn't say verific or malefic, any planets. Arudhadvadase saure dhara putrena samyute anyagrahe kshide vipra bhratru varga dhanavjayah. If the 12th house from Arudha Lagna has Saturn with Mars aspected by some other planets, benefics or malefics, then bhratru varga dhanavjayah, then there will be expenses on brothers, etc. And Mars is the significator for brothers. That is not clear. If you ask me, just Mars being there could show money being spent on brothers. I'm not sure why he mentioned Saturn also there. Saturn doesn't seem to make any sense there. That would still be applicable, but what he is suggesting is Jupiter, even if he is in the 12th house from Arudha Lagna, he is basically the planet of wealth. So he may or may not make you spend. So he seems to suggest that there has to be some other influence on that Jupiter. Unless some other planet is provoking Jupiter to spend money, he may not make the person, even if he is in the 12th from Arudha Lagna, Because he is the karaka for accumulating, not for giving up your money. He is the karaka for wealth. He is the karaka for giving knowledge, but not for giving money. So, being the karaka of dhana, he may or may not make the person spend money. On the other hand, if he is aspected by some other planet, based on that planet's agenda, he can spend money. The next thing is arudha dvadase sthane ye yoga katitha yatha labha bhave cha te yoga labha yoga karastatha. He is saying, whatever arudha dvadase sthane, in the 12th house from arudha, ye yoga katitha, whatever yogas were mentioned, whatever combinations were mentioned, tatha yatha, whatever combinations have been mentioned, labha bhave cha te yoga, even in the 11th house, those yogas, labha yoga karastatha. Like, if let's say Rahu is in the 11th house from Aru Lagna, money from king, will get money etc. On account of luxurious goods, etc. Similarly, let's say Mars is in the Aru Lagna, maybe the person will get money. Those entities shown by the planets, they become the reasons for either spending money or gaining money, based on whether they are in the 11th house or the 12th house. Arudha saptame rahu athava sansiddhasikhi. Arudha saptame rahu athava sansiddhasikhi. Kukshi vyatha yuto balah sikhina piditothava. Arudha saptame rahu. If the 7th house from Arudha contains Rahu, athava sansiddhasikhi or Ketu. If the 7th from Arudha Lagna has either Rahu or Ketu. Kukshi vyatha yuto balaha means Kukshi means stomach. Yatha means pain, terrible pain. So Kukshi vyatha yutha means he has stomach problems, digestion problems basically, digestive problems. Sikhina piditothava, and he is troubled by fire in the stomach. So if Rahu or Ketu is in the 7th from Aru Lagna, it is bad for digestion. Why? Why digestion specifically? 7th from Aru Lagna. Oh, 7th house is not stomach. We have to refresh. First house is head. Second house is face and eyes. Third house is throat. You are thinking of such chakras. Fourth house is the heart. Third house part also covers part of the chest, the upper chest and the neck. And fourth house is the heart area. And the fifth house is stomach. The lower stomach like the liver, all those things. Whereas the 7th house is kidneys, and the 8th house is genitals and the 9th house is the thighs, and the 10th house is knees, and the 11th house is the lower feet, the lower legs, and the 12th house is your feet. So these are the body parts. So 7th house is not stomach, it is just kidneys and other things. So why Rahu Ketu? Of course they are the planets of depletion, they are the planets of trouble, so natural malefics of the highest order. And also the karaka for health, good health is sun. So they are enemies of sun, they cause eclipse of sun. So it is understood that they will give health problems, right? But why in the 7th from Aru Lagna? What is Parashara trying to convey there? 7? So Rahu and Ketu, wherever they are, their gains are stomach. Do they have an influence on the 5th house? Let us forget all that, okay? To see anything happening to stomach, you should take the 5th house as Lagna, right? If you take the 5th house as Lagna, how are these planets placed? They are in 3rd house. So, do they have they have an Argala, right? Normal planets have Argala on the, if they are in the 11th house, but in the case of Rahu and Ketu, it is reckoned opposite, right? So, Rahu and Ketu being in the 7th house do have an Argala on 5th house from Arulagna. They are aspecting the Arulagna, first of all, right? They are in the 7th house, so they have an aspect on the Arulagna. Arulagna is, so bottom line is Arulagna also shows health and body basically. What you physically are is tangible. So it is actually shown more by Arulagna than by Lagna, the body. So bodily problems can be seen from houses from Arulagna. That is the message here. Arulagna is the body. Various houses are various body parts. So 5th house from Arulagna is important for digestion. Yeah, the capability of digestion. So 5th house from Arulagna shows digestion, and Argala from Rahu and Ketu there is depleting the digestion. So in general, bad influences on the 5th house from Arulagna will show digestive problems. Arulagna, they give some health problem. So what it is based on what houses they own, what houses they aspect, what houses they have Argala on. So 5th house is one example. 5th house? No, either. But let us stick to Arulagna for now, because we are talking about Arulagna. So if Rahu and Ketu are in the 7th house from Arulagna and aspecting the Arulagna, we can say that there is some health problem. Because Arulagna is the body, there is some problem to the body given by, some damage to the body given by Rahu and Ketu. What exactly it is will depend on which house they are in, which house they are aspecting, which house they own, which house they have Argala on from Arulagna. So here they have an Argala on the 5th house. So having Argala on the 5th house, they can give problems relating to the digestion.
In such a case, Rahu and Ketu will also have Argala on 2 other houses.
Yes.
Wouldn't that show? Can you not extrapolate this to?
You may be able to, but the thing is, let us say, for example, let us take the 8th house, right? Rahu and Ketu in the 7th house have Argala on the 8th house, 2nd house Argala, counter reverse, right? So 8th house, for example, shows the genitals. The genitals and what do you call what is Guda, English word for Guda? Anus. So anus and genitals, those are signified by 8th house. There can be problems given with respect to those also. But if you take the Karakas for that, Karaka for 8th house, Karaka for those body parts, who is the Karaka? Saturn is the Karaka for anus, and Saturn is the natural Karaka for the 8th house. So, if you, let's say, there is a possibility that Rahu and Ketu will give some problem in the anus, but being a friend of the Karaka, it is not as strong basically, right? Again, it depends on the Lord of the house also. The Karaka, Lord of the house, and the planet in question. You have to check the relations of those, right? Whereas if you take the 5th house of digestion, who is the Karaka for it? Karaka of digestion. Sun, perfect. Sun is the Karaka for digestion, the Jatragni, fire. So, Sun is an enemy of Rahu and Ketu. So, the thing is, they are having Argala, they have a conclusive role in a particular house. And the Karaka of that house they hate. So, if they want to damage the body, give some problem, they are likely to give problem in that area. Rather than the 8th house matters, they are friendly with the Karaka. So, if he says, do you really have to give a problem here? They may say, okay, fine, I won't. But the thing is, this is just one factor. The Lord of the house also matters apart from the Karaka. We haven't seen that. Here we are giving generic results, so we can't see the Lord of the house. It can be any planet. So, just based on the Karaka, we are saying, okay, 8th house is not that bad, but this house is bad, like that. Okay? Yes, of course. If Sun is very strong and the 5th Lord is very strong, or if the 5th Lord is a friend of Rahu and Ketu, then it may not be a big problem. So you have to basically look at all the factors. The Lord of the house, the Karaka of the house, and who are occupying the house. See, even if Rahu and Ketu have Argala, let's say Jupiter is very strongly placed there in the 5th house, right? So Karaka is, let's say, Sun. Let's say Lord of the sign is also Sun, and let's say Jupiter is there. So occupants, aspectors, Lord, Karaka, and Argala givers. All these will play a role. So just because of their Argala on that house, Rahu and Ketu may not be able to spoil the digestion of the person. It may be very strong. But when they control the life of the person, like their dasha, antardasha, etc., then they may give some problem, but it won't be that pronounced, right? So there can be always modifying factors, but in general the thinking behind this is, one, you can take houses from Aru Lagna, fifth from Aru Lagna is the digestion, and then Rahu and Ketu are having Argala, and they are inimical to the Karaka of the house, so they can give problems in the health. He didn't say both. He said Rahu athva Sanskrit Chiti. Either Rahu or Ketu. He didn't say both Rahu and Ketu. It can be either of them. We are considering all this in? Right. Actually, are we? Yes, it could be. So we are not sure what this is. Parasara doesn't say this is only with respect to Rashi. Parasara never says whatever I say from now onwards is in Rashi. He never says Rashi or Amsha. So whatever he says can be anything. He said Rashi is for physical things, Hora for Sampada, Rakana for brothers, like that. So you basically have to pick the right chart. So, but this particular result, because we are talking about digestion, this is most likely in the right, but Parasara doesn't even talk about this. So if you are sticking to Parasara, basically Rashi. For physical things he says Rashi. So Rashi is the main thing. It is better for us to see the G2 rather than Rashi. Okay, with that we will end. We will continue from 24, verse 24 in the next class. We finish page 300. Let's remember. So what I want to do is, before we move on to an example, I want to do, can I just click on Vichitra? I'll actually restart the recording. So I want to see an example, a couple of examples charts to study, to apply what we have learned in the chapter on Arudha Padas so far, and contemplate a little bit. Is it working or are we going wrong somewhere? So that's what I want to do. So the example I will look at is Dhirubhai Ambani. He is the, let me save it. Dhirubhai Ambani. The data, I will give you the data. 1932. Oh, you do not have permission to save in this directory. I should have logged in as you. That's okay. I won't save. I cannot save. I don't have permission to save in this account. Let me actually log in as you. That will be better. That's okay. That's okay. We'll just switch user. Oh, that's okay. This will also be outside. Okay, so the data is December 28, 1932. The time is 6:37 a.m. 6:37 a.m. Male. The place is Chorwad. Chorwad, India. The longitude and latitude are 70 degrees 14 minutes east, 21 degrees 1 minute north. 6:37 a.m. Indian Standard Time. The name is Dhirubhai Ambani. And almost every Indian will know this guy. For others, for outsiders, I will just mention that he is one of the richest Indians. He was a self-made man. He was born in a normal family, and he wasn't rich when he started out, but later he built an empire called Reliance Empire. He has a petrochemical company, mobile company. They are in so many industries now in India. It's a really big industry, Reliance industry. He is the founder of that industry, one of the richest people in India, a completely self-made man. Now, for somebody to be so rich, so successful, if we are applying the principles correctly, there have to be a lot of either planets in the 11th house or planets aspecting the 11th house, right? So let us see. Let us see Rashi. The thing is, the thing with D2 now is, we are used to seeing D2, but the thing is how accurate it is not 100% clear. So let us stick to Rashi chart, and in the Rashi, let us see the chart here. The Lagna is Dhanus, right? Right. So how is the, where is the Arul Lagna? It's in Pisces, because the Lord is in the 10th house, so you take the 10 there from, you get Gemini, but Arul Lagna cannot be in the 1st or 7th house, so you take the 10 there from, you end up in Pisces. So Arul Lagna is in Pisces. So we normally take Aquarius to be the 12th house and Capricorn to be the 11th house. So if you take the entire sign of Capricorn as the 11th house, the occupant is Saturn. Who is aspecting it? Jupiter has full aspect, right? Right. If you take Graha Drishti, not Rashi Drishti, then there is no other aspect, right? Venus and Mercury have a partial aspect. They have a 1/4 aspect, but that's basically very minimal. 1/4 is very small, close to 0 than 1, right? Venus and Mercury have a third house aspect. All planets have 1/4 aspect on the third house and 10th house. They have half aspect on 6th and 9th houses. They have 3/4 aspect on the 4th and 8th houses, right? This is what Parashara taught on the Graha Drishti. 1/4 aspect on 3rd and 10th houses. Basically Saturn-like aspects, 1/4. Jupiter-like aspect, half, 5th and 9th. Mars-like aspect, 3/4, 4th and 8th houses. So, if you look at this 11th house, the only occupant is Saturn, the only aspect is Jupiter. That's it. Only 2 planets. And 2 planets having 1/4 aspect. So that counts to approximately 2 times 1/4, so half. Approximately, so 2.5 planets. Occupants and aspectors together, you are talking about 2.5 planets out of 9 planets. So that doesn't really sound like a high number. And now let us take the 12th house. How many planets are aspecting the 12th house now? Mars is, if you take the aspect of Ketu, then Ketu is aspecting, but if you don't take Ketu's aspect, he is not. But the bottom line is Mars is aspecting. Rahu is right there, and Mars is aspecting it. And Venus and Mercury have 3/4 aspect. Venus and Mercury have 3/4 aspect. So basically 2 planets having 3/4 aspect is equivalent to 1.5 aspect, right? 3/4 times 2. So 1.5 aspects there. Saturn is 1, Mars is another. So 1.5 plus 1 plus 1. So you already got 3.5. On top of it, Sun and Moon have a third aspect. Have a third house aspect, which is 1/4 in magnitude. So that is again 1/4 times 2 is half. So right. So we are basically getting 1, 2, 3.5 plus half, 4. So other one was 2.5. There were 2.5 aspects, occupants and aspectors together. There were 2.5 influences on the 11th house, but there are 4 influences on the 12th house. So does it sound right? Is this okay? The 11th house, Saturn is occupant, so I counted him as 1. Aspect of Jupiter has full aspect, so I counted him as the second planet. And Venus and Mercury have 1/4 aspect each. So 1 plus 1/4 plus 1/4, that is half. So I said 2.5. And in the case of 12th house, Rahu is there 1, Mars is having full aspect 2, then Venus and Mercury are having 3/4 each, because it's the 4th house. So 1.5, 3.5, and Sun and Moon are having 1/4 aspect each. So another half, quarter plus quarter. So 4. So I mean, you can, if you want, actually you can take the cusp of the, I mean, in this way of reckoning Arul Lagna, you don't have a degree. But if you take the same degree as Lagna, as some people do, if you find the cusp, you can actually evaluate the strength of the aspect. Instead of saying half, quarter, 3/4, Parashara actually gave a formula depending on the longitude of the aspected point and the aspecting graha. You can actually associate a degree of aspect. You can say 100% aspect, 70%, 60%, like that. You could do that. So if you do that, it may be slightly different from what we approximately found, 2.5 and 4. But the bottom line is the 12th house has more aspects than the 11th house. So it doesn't basically seem right, right? So like this, you can take some other a few other examples of people who are right. No. Let us not rectify this chart. Okay.
Not rectification,
Right.
but if there is an error by 5 minutes, then
Yeah.
this whole thing should be off.
Yes. If there is an error, how much? Is it 5 minutes or? Okay. If there is an error by 5 minutes, 6 minutes actually. If there is an error by 6 minutes, the whole thing will be off. But let us not go there. Let us assume this is a rectified chart. So let us assume that this is right. So, as a matter of fact, let us, even if you take the previous sign, where will be the Arudha Lagna? It will be in Aquarius. If you take Aquarius again, there are two, the 11th house is Dhanus, there are two occupants, Sun and Moon, right? And there is half aspect by Mars and there is a 3/4 aspect by Jupiter. So if you count the aspects, now 11th house is stronger than 12th house, but you don't see lot of planets. Bottom line is, Parashara said, if all planets or many planets are aspecting the 11th house, then the person will be very strong. So you don't really detect that, you don't really see that. So, but the thing is, I am pretty sure he is not a Scorpio Lagna person, he is basically Dhanu Lagna person. Now, what could be going wrong? I just want to, the thing is, I haven't concluded, but I will just present another alternative approach. An alternative. You can study it for yourself on lot of charts, because this will change lot of things. This will change how Aroras are found in various charts. This will completely change the calculations in many charts. So, the alternative approach is not sanctioned by Parashara, but it is possible that there are some missing verses or there are some corruptions in the Parashara. But the thing is, if you apply this, you will see a lot more things making sense with respect to Parashara's teachings on Arudha Pada. So, without drawing any conclusions, I just want to present you an alternative approach, and you can study for yourself, you as well as those who are listening to the audio. So, in the alternate approach, you don't take just the sign, you don't say Lagna is Sagittarius, Jupiter is in Virgo. You want basically, the thing is, the bottom line is, if you are reckoning houses from any reference, whether it is Ghati Lagna or Chandra or Surya or Arudha Lagna, if you are reckoning houses from a reference, you need a degree, you need a longitude, because from that longitude 30 degrees is first house, 30 to 60 degrees is second house, and so on. So, if Parashara is talking about houses from any reference, there is a longitude associated with that reference. Now, the way we were finding the Arudha Lagna earlier, Sun is Lagna is in Dhanus, Jupiter is in Virgo in so and so house, so take the so and so house, you get so and so sign. We are getting a sign. Arudha Padas are signs, they are not points, the way we were finding earlier, right? Sanjay ji used to say, he taught long back, when he taught two approaches, one based on longitude, one based on signs. He said, in the case of signs, you want the longitude of Arudha Lagna, just take the Lagna longitude. But the thing is, again, why? If Lagna is, let's say, at 10 degrees Sagittarius, and Jupiter is at 20 degrees Virgo, when you find it in Pisces, should you take 10 degrees or 20 degrees, and why? It's found based on Lagna as well as Lagna Lord. So why Lagna's longitude should be the Arudha Lagna longitude? There is no logic. So there is something arbitrary there. And the thing is, without taking a longitude, you don't have houses from Arudha Lagna. So the thing is, it is possible that the other approach that Sanjay ji taught me originally, he said one of the, I don't know for sure which is right, just do research. But this is what I take. I just take based on the science. So the other approach is, but like I said, Parashara seems to be talking only about science. He doesn't talk about the degrees. But it is possible that there is a corruption there. So anyway, so assuming that you take the degrees, now this is what I will suggest. Take the longitude difference from Lagna to the Lagna Lord, the exact longitude difference. And from the Lagna Lord, take the same longitude difference, up to degrees, minutes, seconds. The point you end up with, that is Arudha of the house where you started. So take the house first, from there go to the Lord, the sign Lord. The same distance you take from the Lord of the sign, and then wherever you end up with, that is the Arudha Pada's longitude. Now, exception, if the Arudha Pada is in the first house or 7th house from the place you started with, then you take the 10th house from there, which is basically 270 degrees from there. You subtract 90 degrees. And to reckon the first house and 7th house, the definition is 0 to 30 degrees or 180 to 210 degrees. let me illustrate here. The Lagna is at 1 degree Sagittarius, right? 1 degree 20 minutes in Sagittarius in this example. So exception will apply if whatever you get is between 1 degree Sagittarius, 1 degree 20 minutes Sagittarius to 1 degree 20 minutes Capricorn. That is first house. Or the seventh house is 1 degree Gemini 20 minutes to 1 degree 20 minutes in Cancer. So if whatever you found falls in those two 30 degree portions, then that will be first house or seventh house. Then you apply the exception. Otherwise you just take it as is. Okay. Now let us do the math. Lagna is at 1 degree 20 minutes Sagittarius. Where is Jupiter, Lagna Lord? And that is lorded by Jupiter. Jupiter is where? 0 degree 9 minutes or 10 minutes. 0, 10, 0, 10 Virgo. So basically, yeah, he is actually in the 9th house. He is not in the 10th house. But house doesn't matter. Take the exact longitude. So from Lagna to Jupiter, what is the longitude difference? You can do the math. But the bottom line is, if you basically take the 10th house, exact 10th house, and you subtract 1 degree 10 minutes from it, then you get the longitude, right? From 1 degree 20 minutes in Sagittarius, the exact 10th house is 1 degree 20 minutes in Virgo. But he is not at 1 degree 20 minutes. He is at 0 degree 10 minutes. So it's 1 degree to 10 minutes less. So take the 10th house exact and then subtract 1 degree 10 minutes. So you do that from Jupiter now. Jupiter is at 0, 10 Virgo. So if you take exact 10th house from there, where do you get? You get 0 degree 10 minutes in Gemini, right? But you should subtract 1 degree 10 minutes from that, because the distance from Lagna to Jupiter wasn't exactly 10 houses, 10 signs. It was actually 1 degree 10 minutes less than 10 signs. Okay? So if you do that, from 0 degree 10 minutes, you subtract 1 degree 10 minutes. What do you get? You approximately get 29 degrees. So the Aruhda Lagna in this case is in Taurus. It's not in Meena. His personality is shown not by Meena, but by Taurus, Vrashabha, a bull. Okay. From Lagna, if you take 10th house, exact 10th house, 270 degrees from Lagna, right? If you take 270 degrees, you get, because Lagna is at 120 in Sagittarius, you get 120 in Virgo. But Jupiter, if you want to find the distance from Lagna to Jupiter, Jupiter is a little before that. He is 1 degree 10 minutes before that, because he is at 0 degree 10 minutes in Virgo. He is not at 1 degree 20 minutes Virgo. He is 110 before, 1 degree 20 minutes, 1 degree 10 minutes before that 270 degree point. So the distance from Lagna to Lagna Lord is 1 degree 10 minutes less than 270 degrees. Now you have to find the same distance from Jupiter. So from Jupiter, who is at 0 degree 10 minutes, because you find the distance from Lagna to Lagna Lord, now same distance apply from Lagna Lord, that is Aruh Lagna, right? So from 0 degree 10 minutes in Virgo, you add to it 270 degrees, not exactly 270 degrees, but 1 degree 10 minutes less than 270 degrees. If you add that to Jupiter, what do you get? Forget the 1 degree 10 minutes, just add 270 degrees. Then what do you add 270 degrees to Jupiter. What do you get? You get Gemini 1 degree 10 minutes. No, not 1 degree 10 minutes, 0 degree 10 minutes. Now from that you subtract 1 degree 10 minutes, because the distance from Lagna to Lagna Lord wasn't exactly 270 degrees, it was 1 degree 10 minutes less. So if you subtract that from 0, 10, you get 29 degrees in Taurus. So the bottom line is, of course, most of the first house is actually in Gemini, but the cusp is in Taurus, the start of the house, which is the most effective point of the house, that is the controller of the house, that is in Taurus. So his personality, his Aruh Lagna is basically in Taurus. His personality is, he is a Taurus person in terms of the personality, like a bull. That is his personality, not Pisces, not like a Rishi or something. He is like a bull. That is the personality shown by this Aruh Lagna. Now take the 11th house. If you take the 11th house from the Aruh Lagna, where is it? Where is the cusp of the 11th house? It is in Pisces, at end of Pisces, 29 degrees in Pisces, right? And the 12th house is in 29 degrees in Aries. Now to evaluate the aspects on those points, you can actually do exact math based on Parashara's formulas, but let's do approximate math. If you do approximate math, first let us do the 12th house. Who are aspecting it? What are the aspects on it? Mars and Ketu. Mars has half aspect, right? Mars has half aspect. Saturn has 3/4 aspect. Rahu has 1/4 aspect. Venus, Mercury have no aspect. Sun, Moon have half aspect. Jupiter has 3/4 aspect. Right? So bottom line, Saturn and Jupiter, 2 3/4 aspects. So that is 1.5. 1.5. Then Mars, Sun and Moon, 3 planets have half aspect. So 1.5 again. So 3 aspects so far. Right? Now, what else? Rahu has 1/4 aspect. 3rd house aspect. Right? So how much is it? Right. Exactly. So 3/1/4. So it's a big number. There are a lot of aspects on the 12th house, showing a lot of expenses. Now take the 11th house. What are the aspects on the 11th house? Mars has full aspect, 8th house aspect. Jupiter has full aspect, 7th house aspect. Rahu has full aspect, second house aspect. Rahu has 2nd, 5th, 9th, 7th. Then, so 3 planets have full aspect so far. And Saturn, what about Saturn? Full aspect again, 3rd house aspect. So far 4 full aspects. Full aspect. Saturn aspects full, 3rd house full. So 4 full aspects so far. And then, on top of it, Venus and Mercury have half aspect each. 5th house aspect. So 2 halves is 1. So 5 aspects so far. 5 aspects. And then Sun and Moon, they have 3/4 aspect, 4th house aspect. So 2 3/4 is 1.5. So how much did we get? 6.5. So that's a huge number. So out of the 8 planets we considered, Ketu we didn't consider to have an aspect. So out of the other 8 planets, 6.5 aspects. Actually all the 8 planets have aspect, but because they don't have full aspects, all the planets have at least half aspect, more than half aspect, half or more aspect. So not 1/4 basically. So if you round, basically it is closer to 1 than to 0. That kind of aspect is cast on the 11th house from Aru Lagna by all planets, all the 8 planets, and the overall strength is 6.5, 6.5 out of 8. So that means basically there is on average each planet is aspecting with a strength of 6.5 divided by 8. So that's approximately 0.8. So on average every planet has some 80-85% aspect on the 11th house. So that basically Parashara says if all the planets or several planets are aspecting the 11th house from Aru Lagna, the person will be financially very successful. So the thing is that fits well here. There are whole lot of aspects. So the thing is, so this is an alternative approach. To find the Aruha Pada, this is an alternative approach. If you do that in various charts, exactly where the Aruha Lagna will fall in various charts, it will change drastically. So I urge you to actually take your own chart and the charts of famous people that you have seen before and try to reconcile using this approach and see how things line up with this approach. This is an alternative approach. Yeah. It may or may not indicate businessman per se, but it does indicate a forceful person, right? See, Aries, right. But the thing is, the Pisces makes sense. We are comparing with Pisces, whereas Taurus shows a bull kind of person, very determined person, and this person was so determined. He was actually, if you read his life story, if you read his autobiography or any quick article on him on the internet, if you get an idea of who this person is, he struggled and he worked so hard, and he was such a determined man. And I think the word bull does fit the person very strongly with his personality. His sons may or may not be like bulls, but this person was definitely like a bull.
Actually, bulled the market. If you see his autobiography,
But
he bulled the government in such a way that he wanted.
he bullied, yeah.
Yeah, he bullied him.
But that would be a strong way to say. What else? Now, just as an example, where would be the Rajapada of this person? Just as an example, let's find Rajapada, right? A10, right? How will be A10? I want you to do quick math. Lagna is at 120 in Virgo. Lagna is at 120 in Sagittarius. So 10th house cusp is at 120 in Virgo. So we are not taking Sripati houses, all those. For us, exact 30 degrees is each house. So 1 degree has it. So 1 degree Virgo 20 minutes to 1 degree Libra 20 minutes is 10th house. The cusp is at 120 Virgo. And where is the lord of it, Mercury? 2143 in Scorpio. So it's in the third house, but not exactly third house. You take the exact third house and then add 20 degrees 23 minutes, right? So from 2143 I am subtracting 120. So it's basically 2023. So you take the third house and on top of it add 20 degrees 23 minutes, right? So you do that from Mercury now. Mercury is at 2143 in Scorpio. So if you take the third house from there, where do you get? 2143 in Capricorn. But you have to add 2023 to it. Add, because from Lagna to Mercury, it was further, he was further advanced. He was not at 120, but he was at 2143. So you add 2023 to 2143 in Capricorn. So what do you get? Yeah, so 2023, 2143. If you add, it is basically 41, 42, 23 minus 30. So it is basically, it goes to Aquarius now. So approximately 11.5 degrees. 12 degrees, approximately 12 degrees in Aquarius. So 12 degrees in Aquarius is approximately the A10, right? So which house is it in? From the Arudha Lagna. See, Parashara says, from Arudha Lagna, if Dharapada or Bhagyapada or Putrapada or Rajyapada, any Arudha Pada is in a Kendra or Kona, then it will flourish. So taking Arudha Lagna as reference, if you take any other Arudha Pada, if it is in a quadrant or a trine, that particular aspect of life will flourish like anything. And where is A10 here? Good. So from Taurus, if you just take signs, A10 is in Aquarius, which is the 10th house. But like I said, take houses from the longitude. So Arudha Lagna was at 29 degrees in Taurus. So 29 Taurus to 29 Gemini will be first house. 29 Gemini to 29 Cancer will be the second house, and so on. So if you do that, the 9th house will start at 29 degrees Capricorn and go on till 29 degrees Aquarius. So it is in the 9th house. So A10, the Arudha of the 10th house, the Rajya, the kingdom of the person, that is falling in the 9th house from Arudha Lagna. So that 9th house is very good. Any Arudha Pada which is in the 9th house from Arudha Lagna will flourish like anything. Whereas if you take the regular thing, this particular thing here, right, from AL, A10, the Rajyapada is in the 11th house using the standard reckoning. That is good, but it is not really satisfying any of Parashara's criteria. Parashara's criteria are, for a person to be very successful, important padas have to be in quadrants or trines from Arudha Lagna. And that is not the case here. Whereas if you take the alternative approach, the A10 is well placed in a trine, that to the west trine, the 9th house from the Arudha Lagna. So the person's career will be very, very successful. Will be very successful in career. And moreover, like we said, from Arudha Lagna, when you take the 11th house, there are so many aspects on it. So he gains a lot. Okay. Anything else you want to say? Okay. Let us take one more example of with this approach. Basically, let's find Arudha Lagna, 11th and 12th and evaluate. Let's see Bill Gates example. You had a question? Okay. Let's take Bill Gates, Mr. Bill Gates. By the way, also let's say Dhanapada, A2, because he is so rich. Second house Arudha Pada. Where is second house? How is second house? Second house is at the Dhanapada. Yeah, 1 degree Capricorn, 1 degree 20 minutes Capricorn is the cusp of the second house. See, if you take the regular approach, where is A2 falling? It is falling in Libra. It is in the 8th house from Arudha Lagna. So the thing is, the Dhanapada is in the 8th house from Arudha Lagna. In general, any Arudhas that are in the 6th or 8th from the Arudha Lagna will suffer. But the thing is, this person's Dhanapada did not really suffer. His Ritapada is very strong, because that is your tangible assets, A2. This person was so rich. His wealth was very huge. Now let us take the alternate approach. How is the alternate approach? The Lord of second house Saturn is 1041 Capricorn. So the distance from Lagna to Lagna Lord is 9 degrees 9 degree 20 minutes, right? So 1041 is Saturn's longitude. Add 9 degree 21 minutes to it. 20 degrees 1 minute. Yes, 20 degree 1 minute is in the Lagna itself, first house itself. First house is 1 degree 20 minutes Capricorn to 1 degree 20 minutes Aquarius. This 20 degree 1 minute Capricorn is still within that first house. So you take the 10 there from. So it is in Libra. It is still in Libra. Where in Libra? 20 degree. It is in 20 degree 1 minute in Libra. So which house is it from Aru Lagna?
20 degree 1 minute.
In Libra. Fifth house, because 29 degrees. 20 degrees is before. So it is in the fifth house. So the Dhanapada is in the fifth house from Aru Lagna, whereas Rajyapada is in the ninth house from Aru Lagna. So with respect to wealth and with respect to kingdom, with respect to the career, this person is very well off. Those are the things you can conclude. Okay. Let us take Bill Gates as an example. Should I save it? I didn't save it. That's okay. Oh, I did save it. Good. So Bill Gates, this person is December 28. So Bill Gates was 2 months earlier, October 28, 1955. And the time was 21:22, 9:22 p.m. Bill Gates was born on October 28, 1955, 9:22 p.m. male, and place was Seattle, Washington. Seattle, Washington. So Bill Gates was born on October 28, 1955 at 9:22 p.m. The time zone is 8 hours west of GMT, the Pacific Standard Time, 8 hours west of GMT, and the place is Seattle, Washington. 122 degrees, 19 minutes, 51 seconds west, 47 degrees, 36 minutes, 23 seconds north. Seattle, S-E-A-T-T-L-E. He should have Gemini Lagna and moon in Pisces. For me? 47 degrees, 36 minutes, 23 seconds. Let's save this. Bill Gates. Okay. So if you take the 12th, the Aru Lagna, standard Aru Lagna is in Virgo. If you take the 11th house, that is in Cancer. Who are aspecting Cancer? If you take Rajadrishti, Rahu, Ketu, but let's take Grahadrishti. As we said, we are interested in Grahadrishti. Who are aspecting it? Moon, right? Rahu. Rahu has full aspect. Moon has half aspect. And Venus, Saturn has full aspect. Venus, taking the standard approach, Aru Lagna, from Aru Lagna, the 11th house is Cancer. Saturn is aspecting by 10th aspect. Moon and Rahu are having half aspect. Rahu is again having full aspect. Rahu can aspect the 9th house full, but Moon has only half aspect. So basically 2.5 planets. Saturn, Rahu plus Moon, and Moon having half. So 2.5. And Venus and Sun also have a small aspect. They have 1/4 aspect each. So that's another half. So 3 aspects. That is the aspects on the 11th house, which is not really that big for somebody so successful. And if you take the 12th house, how many aspects are there? Guru, that's it. Yeah, we don't consider Ketu's aspect, so ignore Ketu. So it's just Jupiter, nothing, nobody else. Rahu has 1/4 aspect. So if you include it, it's 1.25. So 3 aspects on 11th house, 1.25 on the 12th house. So basically there are more gains than losses, but the bottom line is, it doesn't seem like the case of a very successful and rich person. For a rich person, you will expect a considerable number of planets, that too strong planets. Here, even though Rahu is aspecting, he is not that strong. Moon aspecting, he is not that strong. Whereas Saturn is the only guy. He is basically the he is an exardal planet. So, being an exardal planet aspecting the 11th house, Saturn is the only real strong planet there. Now, let us take the alternate approach and see if it makes more sense in this chart also, or we have a counter example for the alternate approach here. So, Lagna is at 26 degrees 22 minutes Gemini, and where is Lagna Lord Mercury? He is a little less than exact 90 degrees, so that makes a difference. He is at 23 degrees 20 minutes, 23 degrees 21 minutes, let's say. So, he is actually 3 degree 1 minute less. So, he is like 90 degrees away from Lagna, but not exactly 90 degrees. He is actually 3 degrees 1 minute less than 90 degrees. The distance from Lagna to Lagna Lord is 3 degrees 1 minute less than 90 degrees. So, from Mercury, if you take 90 degrees, what do you get? 23 Sagittarius 20 minutes, 23 21 minutes Sagittarius. Now, take 3 degrees 1 minute less than that. So, what do you get? 20 degrees 21 minus 1 is 20. So, 20 degrees 20 minutes, right? So, 20 Sagittarius, 20 degree 20 minutes Sagittarius. That is the longitude of Aruh Lagna. Now, is it in the 7th house from Lagna? If so, we have to take the 10 therefrom. Is it in the 7th house? No, not really, because Lagna is at 26 degrees 22 minutes. So, the 7th house will start at 26 degrees in Sagittarius, right? 26 degrees 22 minutes in Sagittarius, not at 20. So, 20 degree 20 minutes Sagittarius is still in the 6th house from Lagna. Aruh Lagna is still in the 6th house. So, that's fine. You don't have to apply the exception. So, this person, his Aruh Lagna is not Virgo, but in Sagittarius. Now, well, you can apply Virgo kind of personality also to him, but the thing is, people don't necessarily look at him as an intelligent person. They look at him as a powerful businessman. Sagittarius shows somebody who is dharmic, somebody who is very fiery, somebody who is very charged up. That is what Sagittarius will show. So, anyway, so if you take the Sagittarius, if you take Sagittarius 2020 in Sagittarius as Lagna, now what are the aspects on the 11th house? The cusp of the 11th house is in Libra, 2020 in Libra. So, what are the influences on it? Who are aspecting it?
Venus is in it.
Yeah, Venus, Saturn are one planet in Moola Trikona, one planet in exaltation sign are occupying the 11th from Aruh Lagna. Sun is not in the 11th house, right? Sun is out of the 11th house. He is before 11th house, okay?
Venus, Saturn, 2 houses.
For me?
Venus and Saturn, 2.
Yeah, Venus and Saturn 2. And Moon. Moon has an aspect. Moon has 8th house aspect.
Kuja also.
Kuja also, why?
16 degree.
Yeah, not really. He is the 2nd house. He doesn't aspect. So, it's basically Venus, Saturn occupying it, and Moon having 3/4 aspect, and Jupiter having 1/4 aspect. Jupiter has 1/4 aspect. So, how many aspects on the 11th house? 3 aspects. So, actually, right. And what about the 4th house? Rahu is there.
12th house.
Yeah, 12th house. Rahu is there. The 12th house from Aruh Lagna. Rahu is Rahu in it? Yes. Rahu is in it. Yes. And? Right. Jupiter has 3/4 aspect. Yeah. The thing is, actually, if you do the exact math, Jupiter practically, he doesn't have 3/4 aspect. He is basically having okay, so Jupiter has 3/4 aspect and Moon has half aspect, right? Moon has half aspect. So, how many aspects overall? So Jupiter has almost one aspect. Moon is, yeah. So the thing is, does it make sense also? Does this particular case, with this approach of Aru Lagna, do the principles make sense? Do you expect somebody who is very rich and successful? Right. It is not very convincing. The number, in the case of Dhirubhai Ambani, we had all the planets basically. In this case, we don't have number, but the thing is, both the planets involved basically are the Lord itself, because Parashara said, if the Lord of the sign is occupying or aspecting, or an exalted planet is occupying or aspecting, or a benefic planet is occupying or aspecting, he said. So the thing is, if you take that way, the Lord of the house Venus is there. There is an exalted planet and the Lord of the house. So compared to the other case, in the case of Aru Lagna in Virgo, Venus is basically he doesn't really aspect the 11th house. Here Venus is strongly involved. So because of both Venus and Saturn being in the 11th house, that too if you actually take the house itself, Venus longitude is 26 degrees, 27 degrees in Libra, Saturn is at 28 degrees. So both of them are actually close to the cusp of the 11th house. They are completely within the 11th house and close to the cusp of the 11th house. So Aru Lagna, 11th house from Aru Lagna is very, very powerful. Now, can you tell me one more thing? Can you tell me, in this particular case, where is the Rajapada? A10. Where is A10? Tenth house starts from? Yeah. No, 10th house. Lagna is in Gemini. So 10th house is in 10th house cusp is at 26 degrees 22 minutes in Pisces. Right? I am saying A10, Rajapada. Because we saw that Rajapada was well placed from AL in the case of the other guy. He also, whether his marriage is good or not, we don't know. But we do know that we do know for a fact that this guy is very successful in career. He had a successful career. So let us take the A10. So 10th house cusp is at 26 degrees 22 minutes in Pisces. And where is the 10th Lord?
4 degree Leo.
He is in 4 degree Leo. So he is not really in the 6th house. As a matter of fact, if you take the 5th house, right, he is closer to the 5th house. Now take the 5th house and then you have to add some. How much do you need to add?
Plus 9 degrees.
Oh, 9 degrees.
Yeah.
So it's basically you take Jupiter's longitude, right? You take Jupiter's longitude and add. Yes. From Jupiter you take 5th house and add 9 degrees. So what do you get when you do that? So 4.5 degrees Sagittarius plus 9 degrees. So it's basically around 14 degrees in Sagittarius. Does it make sense? 14 degree in Sagittarius. Does it make sense? Yeah. No, it's not 6th house. From Aru Lagna, which house is A10 in? No, it's in the 12th house. 20 degree Sagittarius was the beginning of the first house from Aru Lagna. So it's in the 12th house. So there is something, it's not whatever we saw in the case of Dhirubhai and Ambani's chart is not, you don't see the same thing here. So it doesn't make sense. So there is still something amiss. Right? 8 is falling in the 10th house from Aru Lagna. That doesn't make sense. 12th from Aru Lagna, right? 12th house from Aru Lagna. That doesn't make sense. Now, where is A9? Just for practice, where is A9? Right, Saturn. Saturn is the lord of the 9th house. 9th house cusp is at 26-22 in Aquarius. So if you take from there to Saturn, what is the distance from there to Saturn?
26 plus 2 degrees, sir.
Yeah. So you basically take the 9th house and then you add 2 degrees. So what do you get? Is it 2 degrees or if you is it exactly 2? It is almost 2, yeah. So it is actually coming to in the Cancer basically, at the beginning of Cancer. So which house is it in? That is the Kendra. So Rajpada didn't make sense. Something went wrong with Rajpada, but the A9, the Bhagyapada was falling in 7th house from Arudha Lagna. So Bhagyapada is well placed. So now what I want you to do is I have given you some examples of how to do this. I want you to take some examples of successful people, either financially or it can be powerful people also, like Rajiv Gandhi, Indira Gandhi, Bill, who was our previous president, George Bush, people like that basically. Take powerful people and take their charts and find the Arudha Lagna, A10, A9, A5, etc., Darapada, etc. Find these Arudhas using this approach. Use the sign approach and then use the longitude approach and see which one makes more sense. See how you can reconcile both. And then we will take up some more examples in the next class and we will say some more things about this. Okay?
You also mentioned this in your email. In this case, your Arudha can also be in the second house from the house itself.
It can be anywhere basically. With this approach, with the other approach, from the Arudha, from the house, from the Lagna, Arudha Lagna can only be in odd houses. It can be in the first, no, it cannot be in the first. It can be in the 3, 4, 5, right? 3, 4, 5. It cannot be in the 6. Then again it can be in the 9, 10, 11. Those are the only possibilities. So from the Lagna, Arudha Lagna can only be in the 3, 4, 5, 9, 10, 11. These are the, you just do the math. The thing is, you count from the Lagna where the Lagna Lord is, count the same, right? So the thing is, from the Lagna, if you count the number of signs to the Arudha Lagna, it will always be an odd sign. So the thing is, let's say Lagna Lord is in the second house, you get third house. Let's say Lagna Lord is in third house, you get the fifth house. If the Lagna Lord is in fourth house, right, you get fourth itself. So like that, if you do all possibilities, right, there are no longitudes, it's only signs, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 12. So if you do the math, you will find out that Arudha Lagna can only be in the 3, 4, 5, 9, 10, 11 houses. Similarly, if you take Arudha of the 7th house, again that can be in the 3, 4, 5, 9, 10, 11 from the 7th house. If you take A10 for example, the Keri, Rajapada, it can only be in the 3, 4, 5, 9, 10, 11 from the 10th house. So that will basically be 9, 10, 11 houses from the Lagna basically I am taking. It can be in the 9, 10, 11 houses and then 9, 10, 11, no 8, 10, right? So it can be in the 12th first and second or 6, 7 and 8 from Lagna. So for every Arudha basically there are 6 houses, 6 signs where it can be and it cannot be any others. So certain placements of different padas are not possible with this. Whereas with this approach of longitude based, taking the Arudhas based on longitude, any Arudha can be anywhere basically. Still there are some regions which are not possible. For example, Arudha of the Lagna cannot be in the 30 degrees from Lagna or the 180 to 210 degrees from Lagna. But all other, except the zones Parashara said are not possible, all other zones are basically possible with this approach. Now, take your own example, take some famous examples and see this. Okay. So I have shown you one example where it makes excellent sense compared to regular approach, and another example where it makes some sense but still there is some convincing to do. This is research. Like I said, Parashara does not mention. So somebody told me he has seen a version of Parashara, a different version, not this version of BPHS, where he actually refers to taking the spota of Lagna and the Lagna Lord. But I haven't seen it myself. So apparently there are versions of Parashara where this is mentioned, but I haven't seen it myself. And the version of Parashara that I have seen mentions counting rasis. So this is not based on Parashara. But like I said, my logic is Parashara did mention how to see houses from Lagna, and I don't accept the point of view that you just count the previous sign, that is 12th house, count the previous sign, that is the 11th house, and so on. So houses are based on sputas, because even when he mentions the grahadrishti, he says now based on the sputas you there is bhavadrishti, like that he associates, he gives enough ample indications that bhavas are based on sputa. Moreover, like I said, 7th house, the 7th house, 8th house, 9th house up to 12th house are called visible half in tradition, whereas 1st house to 6th house are called invisible half. So all these are, and like I said earlier, when Parashara mentions the grahadrishtis of various planets, he basically says in the case of Mars, so and so degree to so and so degree you raise the count. For Jupiter, this is the region, like that he mentions, and those are aligned to 30-degree boundaries. So based on all these things, I conclude that the houses are reckoned based on the way Western astrology or Krishnamurti do. And so in order to reckon houses from any reference, the reference has to be defined as a point, not as a sign. So Arudha Lagna or Arudha Padas have to be somehow defined as points. And the way Sanjay ji reconciled that was by taking the longitude of the Lagna, but that is arbitrary, there is no real logic behind it. You could as well take Lagna Lord's longitude, because he is the last reference. You took from Lagna to Lagna Lord difference, and then you took from Lagna Lord the same difference, and you got Arudha Lagna. So your starting point actually was Lagna Lord to find the Arudha Lagna. To get the delta, you use Lagna and Lagna Lord, but the reference was Lagna Lord. So you may as well say you should take the Lagna Lord's longitude. So why not? So the thing is, it's arbitrary whether you take Lagna Lord, Lagna Lord. So I'm not sure if there is logic in it.
What we are now doing is taking the difference between the two.
We are actually taking the difference between Lagna and Lagna Lord and taking the same, applying the same difference to Lagna Lord, and you will actually get a point. So the way this is defined now, you get a sputa, you get a point rather than a sign as the Arudha of any house. So anyway, so coming back to this, so and like I said, this approach was mentioned first to me by Sanjay ji long back when he mentioned various basics, when he laid them out for me many years back, 11 years or 12 years back. He basically said, Arudha, there are two approaches given to me. One is based on science, the other is based on longitudes. Science will be very simpler, that is what I follow, and you can experiment. That is what he told me. We never really discussed this again, but by default he was teaching based on the science, so that became the standard, and I was basically using that publicly. But I was also experimenting with various charts, because this makes a big difference. Even when Lagna Lord is in Lagna or 4th house or 10th house, the exception may not apply based on the longitudes. And if you take my own chart, for example, my Lagna is at 14 degrees in Virgo. So if you do that, my Mercury is at 3 degrees in Aries. So if you do the regular way, the 8th house Mercury, so 8th from Mercury is Scorpio. So my Arudha Lagna is Scorpio. Whereas if you take actual longitudes from Lagna to Lagna Lord, it's not exactly 8th house, but minus approximately 11 degrees. So if I take 3 degrees Scorpio minus 11 degrees, I basically get something around 22 degrees Libra. So my Arudha Lagna will now suddenly be in 22 degrees Libra instead of being in Scorpio. Of course, if you take the houses, because it's 22 degrees, Mercury, Venus being in the 6th house, all that will still be the same. But the thing is, Mars, instead of being in the 6th house, will be in the 7th house now. So some things will basically change. Some things will remain the same, but some things will basically change. So like that, I have seen several examples for a few years, and I have drawn some conclusions. But the thing is, I wasn't very confident, because I haven't seen a Rishi saying this is how you do. I'm not very confident of this, but I have found very interesting things when I did this way compared to the other way. The bottom line is, the way I look at it, there are a lot of principles, but especially when it comes to Arudhas, I haven't seen anybody actually using Arudhas to predict results confidently. We conveniently use Arudhas. We say, when we have already made up our mind based on other factors, then we say, oh, this planet is in A10, or this planet is having Agla on A10, so he gives success in career, like that. I haven't seen actually any principle based on the regular Arudhas, the way we compute based on science. This is the Arudha, so this is the result. Like that, I haven't really seen anybody do, or I myself could not do. So the thing is, like I keep saying, the light, we may think it is bright, but it's still not very bright. The thing is, we are still in a tube light, whereas we need to reach the light of sun. So astrology, as we know, is not really perfect, and we are just trying to make it more perfect by exploring a little more. And the thing is, this is not really my idea. This is a possibility that was suggested to be by Sanjay ji himself, and I just explored it, and now I am sharing with you.
By your idea, would it be wise for us to take the ROS in case of higher degree chart, higher division chart?
Right.
If
Right.
any gear itself,
Right. That is the point.
then proving something based on a D24 Aruda
Yes.
would be
It may just be nice. May or may not be signal. Now, what is the right way to do the Arudhas in the divisional chart? That is debatable. I will tell you two approaches. One approach is actually take the longitude of the Lagna Lord in the D24 or D10, whichever chart you are seeing, and find the Arudhas based on it. But then you are finding the divisional longitudes, right? Those are very sensitive to the time change. The Lagna in the divisional chart, even in Rashi it is sensitive. In divisional chart it is even more sensitive. And it may or may not be the right thing. For example, when we use Atmakarka etc. in divisional chart, we are not using the divisional longitude to find the Atmakarka. There is some significance to the divisional longitudes. When you find, for example, the Dvadashamsa of the Dvadashamsa or Dvadashamsa of the Navamsa, then those longitudes become meaningful. So the thing is, bodies that are defined in the Rashi chart with a sputa, it is possible to actually find their positions in the divisional chart. In other words, when you found the Arudha Lagna of a person, it is falling in at a particular point. For example, in the case of Dhirubhai Ambani, where did we get it? 29 degrees Taurus. We got the Arudha Lagna in 29 degrees Taurus. So now, if you want the Arudha Lagna of the Dashamsa, for example, you can simply take 29 degrees Taurus. Where will that be? The last Dashamsa. The last part of the Dashamsa. So it will start from the 9th house for even signs. So it will start from Capricorn and go clockwise. So basically Libra. So Arudha Lagna you can just put it in Libra instead of taking the. But anyway, it is coming to the same sign using the regular approach. But it need not. So you can do like this basically.
so basically AL can be
Various Arudha Padas basically can be taken as points in the zodiac. They are basically just like planets, they are abstract points like Upagrahas, like Ghati Lagna, like Hora Lagna. And then when you find the divisional chart position of that, you basically take that as a planet and find the divisional chart position. That is an alternate approach, and you can experiment with it. Even that will be sensitive to birth time, but that will be less sensitive than the other one. Yes, but for a while, do it manually. Do it manually for a while. It's not that difficult. You can just do like that. Yes.
thing in this is, when somebody comes to you to
Yeah.
just look at their chart,
Right.
with this new calculation now,
Yeah.
not today even the recent
Yeah.
ones with the
Yeah.
Bhavalakna,
Yeah. Yeah.
I
Uh-huh.
think it is to me become more confusing. Should we follow this or follow the new one?
See,
Because
I know I am confusing you, but the thing is,
no, but with the limited time to
Yeah.
just give with whatever we learned so far,
yeah,
this is kind of undoing what you learned in so far, and then now trying to apply this. The confidence level is very low.
yeah, right.
So,
So
what are the right solutions?
there is no solution. Basically, if you are helping somebody, if you are giving readings, you use the principles that you have confidence in. Now, if you have confidence in the principles before, you should just use them. And as you experiment, if you get more confidence in these principles, and if you think, oh, this makes more sense. Oh, if I do this, Bill Gates' Dashamsa Lagna is not in Aries. Dashamsa Arudha Lagna is not in Aries, it is in Gemini. Now, 5th Lord is in Lagna Lord is in 7th house, there is a Rajoga between 5th and Lagna Lord from Arudha Lagna. This makes more sense. Like that, if you see 100 charts, and let's say you become more confident that this is right, then you can actually switch to this. But then you will need software. I'll give it.
No, but what happens in Mumbai in the next 2 years when
Yeah.
we do
It may need not take 2 years, but however long it takes for you to actually get confidence in some other approach, you just use the approach that you are confident of.
we are giving solution to somebody saying you are taking this and things like that, which are random. The only thing is depending
Yeah.
upon our
That is why have some humility. have some humility when you, actually even when you have good knowledge, it's good to have humility. The bottom line is, there is some stuff here, something that is good. So the thing is, it's not just Arudhas, right? You are also looking at where Lagna is. Venus is 5th Lord, he is in Lagna. From Lagna also you are analyzing. So,
it's not just Japan.
yeah.
In one of the cases, one of the
Yeah.
talks we saw recently from
Yeah.
somebody in New York, he said the best thing for this person is he studies in foreign land.
yeah,
Which is a whole paradigm shift for them
Right.
to put the chain away and go to the
right,
foreign
right,
land.
right.
But if it is based on a potential,
See, the thing is, I'll put it this way. Most of the stuff you are doing, it's not completely undone. Because I'm not, the way you reckon houses, there may be some differences, but the thing is, it's not completely nice. That's what I'm saying. It's basically, on top of the signal, you are putting lot of white noise. It's basically signal corrupted with lot of white noise. It's not complete white noise. There is some signal behind it. Because there is a Lagna, there is a sun, there is a moon. He's in the same place, maybe one house plus minus. So the thing is, it's not completely, whatever you are doing is completely not useless. That is why, if you look at your record, you have seen cases where it works. But the thing is, you have also seen cases where it doesn't work. You have also seen cases where you were confidently concluding one thing, but it didn't come true. So the thing is, there is imperfection. We are trying to make it more perfect. But if the more perfect is difficult to understand or get confidence in or start using, use whatever you are comfortable with, and slowly you will transition. The thing is, now I am sharing what I went through for many years with all of you. So even though I am putting people who are listening, people in the class and people who are listening in confusion, the thing is, you have to realize that I lived this for almost 10 years. I've been basically, in the beginning when Sanjay ji started teaching, he basically told me this or this or this. But later, when we started going public, basically starting in conferences, he just took one position. And it wasn't entirely clear to me that he took that position because he knew that was right or because it was just convenient. You have to start with something. It wasn't clear to me. And later, slowly as time progressed, I started seeing lot of inconsistent logic, things that didn't make sense, just being explained somehow or the other. And as I kept asking him, he would say, we'll discuss it later, but he would never. And I also saw him accepting something wasn't from Parampara privately and publicly saying this is Parampara. So I have seen some dishonesty. So slowly I became convinced there is lot of noise here. This is not really reliable. So I tried to basically, what could I do? I could either give up and move on to something else, or if I wanted to make more sense, experiment with various possibilities and see which one is making more sense. So within the time I had, basically I had to experiment, and now I'm trying to share some of the results, and it won't take too long. I will not keep you, in my case, to resolve this particular issue, for example, I couldn't resolve it in a day or a month. I had to basically spend several years to resolve it. So in your case, it won't be several years. We will drag this to conclusion in a month or so, for example. So you shouldn't despair from that point of view. But bottom line is, at the end, hopefully, there will be better knowledge. That is the goal. What we wanted was, when we started out, basically, what we wanted was a renaissance in astrology, a better knowledge in astrology, better understanding of the teachings of Rishis. And what I have realized in my experience is, there may be some corruptions in Parasara, BPHS, but it's mostly authentic. It's mostly corruption free. Mostly, not fully. And if you actually make it very simple, keep it simple, instead of making it very complicated, because if you are trying to sell something, if you complicate it and if you create a lot of niche, you can create niche for yourself. But if you are not trying to sell something, if you are trying to just understand knowledge, actually making it complicated doesn't work. As a matter of fact, lot of sublime knowledge is actually very simple. Unnecessarily making it complicated makes it worthless. So the thing is, what I realized in my experience in the last 12 years is, if you stick to Parasara, and if you make it very simple, and if you think logically, you will arrive at something very useful. That is my conclusion, whether it is various dashas, various things like Ashtakavarga, things like Sudarshan Chakra, whatever topic, or Arudha Argalas, whatever you take, Parasara has actually taught it. And some people think that Parasara BPHS was written in the last 100 years, last 1000 years. It's not really written by Parashara. I reject all those notions. The thing is, which text was written when? People believe that Vedas were written 2500 years back. People believe that Puranas were written in the last 1000 years or last 1500 years. They have a chronology, but the thing is, this was put together by people who came to India, who invaded India, and who wanted to explain everything in the biblical time frame. According to them, God actually created Adam and Eve 3000 years back, and before that there was nothing on earth. So people who believed that 3000 years, not 3000 years back, 3000 years back or 5000 years back, whenever basically God created according to them, they had a clear creation cycle. So based on it, they wanted to explain everything as having happened after that. And also they were biased that there was this civilization, this great civilization in India had actually come from the West. So people with all these biases, this is the nature of Indology. These people actually put together some hypothesis, and that became the standard. Now for anybody to disprove it, they have to go through great lengths to disprove it. And even when they actually show credible evidence that their conclusions are wrong, they are unwilling to change. So this is the problem. So you should not go by what Indologists say when Parashara was. They tell you this Parashari astrology came from Greece and all that stuff, and they tell you Parashara lived in the last 1000 or 2000 years. But the thing is, my thinking is very simple. If I look at the language, it's very simple language, very beautiful language. If I see Vyasa, Valmiki, Parashara, all, like I said in one of the mails, they just use Anushtup. Show me another author who predominantly uses Anushtup, maybe one or two times, but predominantly if you take people like Kalidas or Varahamihira, Kalyanavarma, Mantreshwara, none of these people use Anushtup because it's too simple. Like I said, as Kali progresses, people want to complicate things. They don't want to keep them simple. They deviate from the core. They deviate here and there. Similarly, their thinking also deviates. So they, instead of using simple Anushtup, Trishtup kind of Chandas meters which were popular in the old times with the Rishis, they just use all these nice meters which are lyrically beautiful, very complex, more challenging to write. But the thing is, you are not writing poetry, you are teaching astrology. But that is the style of Kalidas, Varahamihira, etc. Whereas if you take Parashara, it's basically 99% Anushtup. And if you take Mahabharata by Vyasa, 99% Anushtup. Puranas, 99% Anushtup. So this is the thing. So also the style, the expression styles. If you look at the stylistically, what Kalidas, Kalyanavarma, these are all similar styles. Whereas Parashara is a different style. And above all, whenever I actually took something in Parashara, I really went deep into it. I tried to understand what it is, and when I finally got convinced that I understood it, I just applied it. Just works. Whether it is Virudasha or Maheshwara calculation, Brahma calculations, Thiradasha, some things that I have shared in the past, like Karakadasha, Jarakarkas. Whenever I am confident that I have, okay, now I have understood Parashara, I see that works consistently. Whereas I cannot say the same with other things that I have learned from various other sources, including various classics. So I am convinced that Parashara, the PPHS, is the work of a Rishi. It's the work of an intellectual Jain, somebody whose stature we cannot fathom. And also, the nature of Rishis is such that they can control past, present and future. If somebody, a Rishi is somebody who has perfect control over the mind. Such a person, before he leaves body, if he says, okay, 5000 years after I leave, suddenly astrology will become purer again, and after 10,000 years again it will become pure. Like that, if he has that kind of thing in mind, then his text will become popular and suddenly people will understand his text. So my belief is, in the next 100 years or so, people will understand BPHS a little better than in the last 2000 years, and the knowledge will become clearer. And we hope that whatever we are doing is in that direction. That is the spirit with which we are taking it up. And while we do that, if you are helping people, the thing is, there are people who help others by looking at the charts. They just do tarot readings, like Jyothishya we say in Telugu. A parrot goes and takes out there are a lot of sheets. A parrot takes out a sheet. You basically give a prediction based on what is in the sheet. And those people, it's not that those people are useless. Bottom line is, if you are destined to help somebody, you will help them. So that is why don't look down upon people who have lesser knowledge than you, because what you are proud of, you may be proud of having good knowledge, but it may still be not that superior to somebody who is doing Jyothishya, the parrot the parrot kind of astrology. So the thing is, we will try to refine our knowledge, we will try to understand Parasara, we will be devoted to Parasara and try to understand him better, and meanwhile feel free to use whatever knowledge you are comfortable with. And the thing is, suppose you take Atmakarka and Navamsa and the 12th house and you suggest Ishtadevata and suggest the prayer. Suppose that is not really the Ishtadevata. Like I showed in my examples, if Vivekananda came or Ramakrishna Paramahansa came or Sarada Mata came, people would have suggested a different deity, not the one they actually went with, and not the one that they actually had Sayuja of. So like that, you may be misguiding. You may be suggesting a deity that the person has no runa with, the person has no achievement or attainment with in the previous life. It may not be that useful, but it won't be useless. It may not be the perfect, but it may still be useful. You pray to any god, it's not wasted, no effort is wasted. So from that point of view, don't worry too much about misguiding people. We only guide. Whether it's good guidance or misguidance is not really in our hands. So use the knowledge you have to give the best guidance, and then the God will take care of it. Yes? Yeah. Can you swipe? Finger. I was talking for too long and it basically went into screensaver or something. Okay. Yes, your question is?
We look at the Graha Aruna.
Yeah.
If the particular Graha has two
Houses. Yeah.
then you look at the stronger house.
Right.
Suppose for particular Graha owns and same Graha
Yeah.
owns
Mm-hmm. Gemini.
Gemini.
Yeah.
And we're trying to consider, you consider that Gemini is stronger and you
Okay.
basically take that as a Graha.
Right.
With respect to that you calculate the Graha Aruna.
Right.
Would that mean that the Virgo Arudha is not even there?
We are not talking about Vargo Arudha. Vargo Arudha will be there, but you are talking about Mercury's Vargo Arudha.
Yeah, Mercury is Virgo Arudha. Wouldn't it be there?
Parasara did not define it, but my take is that may also, Mercury may manifest through that Arudha also, but his manifestation will mostly be through the Gemini Arudha, if Gemini is stronger. So my take is, this is just my take, not given by Parasara. My take is, if you find two Graha Arudhas for a planet, there may be tangible results relating to that planet through both, but one of them will dominate compared to the other one.
We said for this in the class long now that we said that in such cases there is a potential of dual personality of the person.
It may be dual personality or it may be different results also, different possibilities.
The question actually came up when
Yeah.
we were discussing the example that you gave.
Mhm.
So,
Mhm.
the ninth house, we were taking Buddha as
Yeah.
Graha Arudha.
Mhm.
We basically then said that because it is the ninth house related,
Right.
the ninth house would prosper.
Yeah. Mhm.
But at the same point of time, he also has the L12
Mhm.
12th house product.
I see.
So my question is, 12th house, you not even see anything with respect to the 12th house?
When you find Graha Arudha, you want to see how a Graha manifests, how a planet manifests. What Parasara does is, you take the stronger one and you take the Arudha from it. He didn't mention the second one. So it may have an impact, but it will be minor. So if you want to see Mercury's tangible results, you are better off just taking the stronger sign. But the disclaimer I want to put is how to judge the stronger sign. Parasara did not give any guidelines in that section. He gave letter in different context, and we are trying to apply the same. So the thing is, some more fine tuning may be needed with respect to Graha Arudha. But with Arudha Lagna, we are mostly confident.
We also look at basically when we look at
Yeah.
the father's horoscope and the D4, we see
Mhm.
L4 Sodavaka, L9 Sodavaka, we basically take
Yeah,
that
yeah.
into consideration, right?
Mhm.
What if L9 is not even present? I mean, the Graha Arudha would basically indicate that L9 is not dominant.
See, the thing is, this is the terminology that we introduced, not Parasara introduced. L9, L1, L2, L3 is not Parasara's terminology. It was our terminology. Parasara's terminology is A1, A2, A3, A4 up to A12, or AL, A2, A3, A4, A5 up to A11 and UL. That is Parasara's terminology. Those are the houses manifestation. Then Arudha of Sun, Arudha of Moon, Arudha of Mercury, Arudha of Mars, Arudha of Jupiter, and so on. That's it. He didn't talk about Arudha of 12th Lord, Arudha of 7th Lord like that. So the thing is, if you want to see the 7th Lord's Graha Arudha, right, just take 7th Lord as a planet. Seventh lord, if it is Mercury, then take Mercury's Arudha. It may be from the other sign moved by Mercury. It doesn't matter. That is how Mercury will manifest. So that is what Parasara has defined.
In D4, if I need to see father's
D4 or D12?
D12.
Yeah? Yeah?
Father's
Right. Right.
Then in such case, would it be a good idea for me to see what the ninth house lord is and his Angraha would be?
Yes. Take the ninth house, take the A9, take the ninth lord, and take the ninth lord's Graharuda. And when you take the ninth lord's Graharuda, let's say Lagna is Capricorn, ninth house is Virgo. Ninth lord's Graharuda means Mercury's Graharuda. And that may be found based on Gemini. But still, that doesn't matter. That is Mercury's Arudha. So ninth lord will manifest in this chart through that Arudha. So take that and then also take the ninth house, etc. and then see the
It is
influence.
not directly L9.
It's not L9. It's L Mercury. It's basically A Mercury. That's why I said A Mercury. Arudha of Mercury. That is how Parasara defined. Arudhas of planets, Arudhas of houses. That's it.
What is it? Dual Graha?
Huh?
There is a dual Graha.
Yeah, this is based on what Sanjayji mentioned in one book, Kova or something. He basically gave one example to see the relations between Gandhi, Nehru, etc. He just gave one example. So this was programmed based on that. So this dual Graha Arudha view, it will say Sun's Arudha based on, see, June 9, for Jupiter you will see June 9 and June 12. June 12 is Jupiter's Arudha based on Pisces, June 9 is Jupiter's Arudha based on Sagittarius. So his what he explained at that time was in one of the books, Kova I think, or Narayan Dasa, I think. Yeah, Narayan Dasa, not Kova. Yeah, Narayan Dasa. In the Narayan Dasa book, he basically mentioned this. He basically takes these Graha Arudhas based on both the signs, and then he sees, if you want to see what is the influence of an Aries Lagna person on you, or what is the influence of a Taurus Lagna person on you, you take the corresponding Arudha. If you want to see, for example, a Sagittarius Lagna person's influence on you, take Jupiter's Graha Arudha based on Sagittarius, June 9, and then see where it is from your Lagna. Based on it, you can say they will bring you losses, they will bring you tension, they will bring you fortune, etc. So he basically gave a couple of examples, like Mahatma Gandhi and Nehru, I think. Couple of examples he gave. But the thing is, again, this is not granted by Parasara. This is possibly coming from tradition. But it may or may not be perfected knowledge. Any other questions? So I do want you to actually spend some time before the next class. Those in the class as well as those who are listening, I want you to actually take some charts and then find the Arudhas and then basically pros and cons of both the approaches. What you can explain better with the new approach and what you can explain better with the old approach. So take some charts and a few points yesterday, and then we'll take it from there. Okay. So with that I will end the class today. Om Tat Sat Sarvam Shri Krishnarpanamastu. Loka samasta sukhino bhavantu. Sarve dharmika jana sukhino bhavantu. Yavad bhumandale sanatana dharmo vardhatu. Visheshatah bhartakhande. Om